Hi, I'm Pat Gabney. It's it's because of my daughter. She had a very rare brain tumor, and when she was diagnosed, the diagnosis was an anaplastic neuroadenoma tumor that had hemorrhage prior to resection. All right, that gave her less than one chance out of 500,000 to come off the operating table. They gave her 3 hours to live. She came out, and not only did she come off the operating table, she went into coma for 118 days, 4 months, figuring never to survive the coma. She was diagnosed as grade 10 coma. Only 2% of the people come out of that. Now, each time that I had to make a step, I had to argue with the caseworker or the medical field in order to say, no, she's going to come back, to let her know that. And we finally convinced our surgeon to release her to a nursing home, comatose, in Red Lake Falls. And we arrived there on January 4th, 2007. And she was there for 14 months. But on February 8th of 2007, I was rubbing her forehead and she opened her eyes. You can't imagine that. So then we started working with the rehab and the PT right there, and I had to argue with the doctors over in rehab in Grand Forks to let her come over there. And so we finally got her over to rehab on March 24th. And the first day that she was in rehab there, they said, no, she doesn't function. So they were going to send her back. I said, would you give her one more day and let me be there? They didn't want me there. And I looked at her and we figured out that she didn't want to be there. I took her in the back room. We had a father-daughter talk. And I told her that she had to get off her butt or she's going to be in that wheelchair the rest of her life. We started working. She was there for 7 weeks. 7 weeks is the longest anybody has ever been in rehab in 20 years over in Grand Forks. But the money ran out and there was no more rehab services for her. We got her back up here and they put her into partial rehab services. But I took and I started getting her to walk out at the arena. I set up a program myself. I had to educate myself because we didn't have the programs up here. And I set up a program with her for walking on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and rehab up at the hospital here Tuesdays and Thursdays, and do the 7 machines. But I had to be with her to do that. And the first time we went walking, she walked 7 steps. 4.5 months later, she was walking 4.5 laps. And she had got a job. We went down, and she had chronic pain on her right side. We went down to the rehab pain management program down in Minneapolis, and well, we went down for a follow-up, and at that time they told me that she was totally cancer-free. When they did the surgery, they got 60% of it. She never had any radiation or chemo, none of that stuff. And so I asked him what happened to the tumor, and he says when she had so much blood in her brain, they figured that the blood it developed around the tumor, and when the blood dried up, it dried up the rest of the tumor with it. So she was totally cancer-free. Well, being in that pain management program was very fulfilling because she became totally independent. We'd have to be there in case something happened because she was incognitive. But she was off on her own doing everything. And then on January 29th, 2009, she was dead in bed next to me. She passed away at 5:30 in the morning from an enlarged heart. And when we had her at home, we had PCA services. And then when she passed, and we had PCA for her daughter that had ADHD and ODD diagnosed. This past year, when all of the changes came through, since now you have to have the ODD and the ADHD comes under the same category, you only have one category to belong into, and so she needed 2, and that way we lost in the entire PCA program. And I think that what we're doing is cutting back on PCA. Now, if she would have had to be hospitalized, and when Becky was in the nursing home in Red Lake Falls, it was $790 a day to have her with all of the services they had down there. When we got her up here, she was qualified for 12 days of PCA, 12 and a half hours of PCA a day. And that's, if she would have went to a 13, they would have put her back in the hospital, in a nursing home. So, but if it was $790 a day for 1 day, for 1 service at the nursing home, when we got on the PCA, it was $1,100 a month for services that we were rendering her. So I think that because they cut some of the PCA programs, it's actually driving more people to go get the professional help, and when you get the professional help, it's going to cost more money. I think that's about it.